Welcome, dear listeners, to a tale as fierce as the Yorkshire wind and as haunting as a memory etched in shadow. I'm Kayla, and I'll be your guide through the untamed moors and twisted hearts of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. But I'm not walking these stormy paths alone.
Exactly, Kayla. Hello everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm here with Kayla to take you deep into a story that defies easy labels. This isn't just a love story, it's a legacy of obsession, cruelty, longing, and the ghosts that never let go.
So, get comfortable, let the wind rattle your windows, and prepare to be swept into a tale that has haunted readers for generations. This is more than a novel. It's a storm passed down through bloodlines.
This is Wuthering Heights, where every shadow has a story and every heart leaves behind a ghost. Let's begin.
The moors stretched endlessly, bare, wind-beaten, and murmuring secrets through the heather. And there, perched like a sentinel on the edge of desolation, stood Wuthering Heights. The house did not merely exist, it brooded, stone walls etched. With time, chimneys clawing at the grey sky, its very presence whispered of old grievances and emotions left to rot. Into this storm of silence came Mr. Lockwood, a gentleman from the city, drawn by solitude and the lure of rural charm. From his window at Thrushcross Grange, he had seen only pastoral beauty. But now, standing before the cold threshold of Wuthering Heights, he faced something much older and darker. Something primal, something he couldn't yet name, but that unsettled every inch of his soul. Inside he was greeted not with warmth, but with the scowl of a man forged by storms. Heathcliff, tall, still as winter, with eyes that dared you to peer too deeply. There was no welcome, only the weight of 1,000 unspoken things hanging in the air. Even the servants held their breath around him, and the rooms felt colder the longer he stayed. Time itself seemed slower there, dragging, suffocating. Lockwood's first night at Wuthering Heights was a plunge into nightmare. The wind shrieked like a voice lost to time. In fevered dreams, he saw a woman clawing at the window pane, her voice filled with sorrow and longing. "Let me in! I'm Catherine!" Her hand, pale and bloodied, scraped the glass. Her sobs became the wind, echoing through Lockwood's chest, like a plea from beyond the grave. Terrified, Lockwood fled back to Thrushcross Grange, but he couldn't leave the mystery behind. That cry echoed in his mind, the ghost, the silence, the piercing stare of Heathcliff. When he pressed the housekeeper, Ellen, Nellie Dean, for answers, she gave him not gossip, but a story soaked in grief, obsession, and a love too fierce to ever rest in peace.
Many years earlier, Wuthering Heights was a house of tension and transformation. It was ruled by Mr. Earnshaw, a strict but kind-hearted man. One day, he brought home a ragged orphan from Liverpool, a boy with no name and no past. He called him Heathcliff. From the start, Heathcliff was a spark in dry tinder. Mr. Earnshaw adored him, but Hindley, his own son, loathed the outsider. Their home became a battleground of favoritism and resentment, but amidst that chaos bloomed a wild bond between Heathcliff and Earnshaw's daughter, Catherine. Catherine was no delicate flower. She was as much a part of the moors as the wind and wild grass. She and Heathcliff became one spirit in two bodies, feral, inseparable, uncontainable. Their love was not gentle, it was elemental. They roamed the hills together, laughing in the wind, mocking the rules of society. They were wild things, unclaimed by class or custom. They found freedom in the moors, where no judgment could reach them and no walls could divide them. But after Mr. Earnshaw's death, Hindley inherited power, and he used it to strip Heathcliff of all dignity. Reduced to a servant, Heathcliff endured, fueled only by the secret fire he shared with Catherine. Then came the twist of fate. Catherine was injured by a dog and nursed back to health at Thrushcross Grange, home of the refined Linton family. There she met Edgar Linton, gracious, elegant, and everything Heathcliff was not. A man of calm speech and soft hands, with a future full of stability. When Catherine returned, she was torn. She loved Heathcliff, but Edgar offered status and comfort. In a tragic confession to Nellie, she said, "It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now," unaware that Heathcliff heard every word. That night, he vanished into the darkness and into a future that would harden his soul. The boy who once loved became a storm that would never calm.
Years slipped by. Catherine married Edgar and became mistress of Thrushcross Grange. Her days were filled with civility, but her heart remained wild. She never stopped waiting. The fire she buried still smouldered in silence, like embers beneath snow. And then Heathcliff returned, no longer ragged and scorned, but transformed, wealthy, educated, dangerous. But behind the refined exterior, the rage still burned. Heathcliff had not come back for reconciliation. He returned to destroy. With cunning, he seized Wuthering Heights from Hindley and manipulated his way back into Catherine's life. Each of his steps was calculated, a slow dance of vengeance. Their reunion was a storm reignited. Passion collided with bitterness. Every glance was a wound. Catherine, torn between the life she chose and the soul she lost, began to unravel. Her health failed, and their final meeting was a devastating eruption of grief and desire. They clung to each other in madness, not romance. Her final breath was not peace, it was yearning. Catherine died in childbirth, and with her, Heathcliff lost the last tether to anything good. He stood at her grave, shattered, begging her spirit to haunt him. He did not want peace. He wanted her shadow forever.
But the tale did not end with their deaths. It merely shifted to the next generation. Catherine's daughter, Cathy, grew up in the warm shelter of Thrushcross Grange. She was spirited, curious, unaware of the dark legacies circling her. But fate and Heathcliff had other plans. He had a son, Linton, from his brief, bitter marriage to Isabella. Sickly and spoiled, Linton became a pawn in Heathcliff's revenge. Through manipulation, Heathcliff forced Cathy to marry Linton. His goal was cold and clear: claim the Grange through legal inheritance. The girl who once danced in sunlight now sat beside a dying boy in a house of shadows. After Edgar Linton's death and Linton's brief, painful demise, Heathcliff stood triumphant. He owned both houses. Cathy, now alone and trapped at Wuthering Heights, seemed doomed to a life of sorrow. But hope flickered. Hareton Earnshaw, Hindley's neglected son, grew into a man of strength and quiet dignity. Though uneducated and rough, he had a good heart. Cathy, at first bitter, began to see his worth. Slowly, they built something new, a bond rooted in kindness, not fire. Heathcliff, watching them, grew restless. Their joy reminded him of what he had lost. Haunted by visions of Catherine and exhausted by decades of vengeance, he began to waste away. He wandered, refused food, and stared into nothing. One morning, he was found dead in Catherine's old room, his face finally at peace. The storm had ended.
The wind over the moors no longer howls with grief. Catherine, Heathcliff, Edgar, they lie buried beneath the same sky. The past rests now, but its echoes remain. When Mr. Lockwood returned to Wuthering Heights, One final time, he found a changed place. The house no longer groaned with bitterness. Laughter drifted through open windows. Cathy and Hareton, together, were planning a life not built on pain. The cycle of revenge had ended. Love, real and patient, had found a place to grow. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights is not a story of happy endings. It's a storm of human emotion, obsession, jealousy, grief, and yes, love. But through it all, we are reminded that healing can happen. That the past can whisper, but it doesn't have to rule. That the future, even built on ruins, can still bloom.
In this wild land where passion once burned through generations, something softer now grows, quietly, strongly, free. And perhaps that is the true legacy, not the storm, but the stillness that follows. This has been Wuthering Heights, retold, through voice, through heart, through shadow and sun. Thank you for walking these moors with us. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share your thought, like and share this video, and subscribe this channel to support us.